friends, and welcome back to the Wardenburn Reads YouTube channel. I am Emily, and here on my channel I love to talk about cozy, wholesome books. It has been a while since my last video. We've had a lot going on, both personally and, as I'm sure many of you know, this last week was pretty heavy for a lot of people. I'm not going to go into too many details or anything on that because I'm sure most of you all know it has just been a lot personally and nationally, I would say. And then also just in the day-to-day, my two little boys have been taking up a lot of my time. I'm starting potty training my toddler, and the baby is trying to drop his morning nap. So today they are both asleep at the same time, and that very rarely occurs at this point. So it has been a good while since I've been able to just sit down and just relax and film a video, and I have missed it. I have wanted to talk about books. I have found quite a few new books that I have been thoroughly enjoying recently, and I just have not been able to wait to talk about them. So I'm really grateful that the boys are both asleep, but I have 15-20 minutes that I can sit here and just chat about some cozy, sweet romance books. So let's dive right into it. I also have realized that it's almost the first official day of fall, and I just don't know that I'm going to have the time to be able to make a fall books to read video this year. I'm having a hard time coming up with the books to recommend, and my brain is just so tired and dealing with being a mother and all of those things, and I just haven't been able to think of all the cozy fall books. But there are a couple of videos that I would like to link and recommend. I know Gina from, is it Gina Stainer Books? She just uploaded one that's like 10 cozy books you might not have heard of before, and I am definitely keeping track of some of those books that I want to read at some point, some of those authors that I want to check out. And then Jen from Jen's Reading Life has posted a couple of book recommendation videos, so I will link those down below. Or Jen's Reading, did I say it wrong? Is it Jen's Reading Life or Jen's Reading? You know who I'm talking about. I will have her channel linked down below. I'll have some videos linked down below, so if you need some cozy fall reads, be sure to check out those channels and videos. Okay, now let's dive into the books. I have been on a serious Kasey Stockton reading kick recently. I actually, the last couple of weeks in particular, that's when my baby really started trying to drop his nap, and so then my boys were not napping at all, and so I had no like child-free time during the day, and so I found that my brain has just been a little bit mush. If you hadn't guessed by this point, I'm a extreme introvert, and so if I go for long periods of time without having any sort of like breathing space, it's not the best. And so these phases of motherhood are oftentimes a significant struggle for me, just because my brain is just not computing the way that I want it to. So I have needed really gentle, wholesome, sweet, kind of fluffy books to read at the moment. And Kasey Stockton has just been filling that spot for me. I started back in mid-August. I read To Forge Her Fate, which is the first book in the, is it Harewood? Hearts of Harewood, I think, series. I think there's 4. It was perfect timing because I started reading the series, and then I got to the last book in the series and realized that the 4th book was going to be released in like a week, and I was like, this is amazing, perfect. So I ended up reading To Forge Her Fate, A Proper Governess, and The Rules of Courtship, and then I had to wait, like I said, about a week to read the final book in the series called A Secret Correspondence. But in between then, I read The Jewels of Halstead Manor, which is the first in the Ladies of Devon series, I think. Kasey Stockton has a number of different series, and then she also has a number of different books that are part of other series, where I'm assuming this is kind of a thing with like proper Regency romances is what they're kind of called, where they will have a series of books, but each book is written by a different author, and so she has a number of books that are in a few different of those series. But so I read To Forge Her Fate, was very sweet, very wholesome. It was a story. It was basically a wealthier lady and the blacksmith, and they fall in love, and it's very sweet and wholesome. And then a proper governess is, as you might guess, a governess and a widower. One of my all-time favorite tropes. If you have any good, wholesome, like, governess books, please let me know, because I just love those so much. I don't know why. It's just a thing. I love it. There's a reason why Jane Eyre is one of my all-time favorite books. Yeah, so a proper governess. And then the rules of courtship. That one was like a long-time friends, two lovers type of a story. So that one was really sweet. And then a secret correspondence, as you might guess, is two people who are exchanging letters and they don't know who the other person is, because this is the time period where it was very scandalous for men and women to exchange letters with each other. And so they're exchanging letters, and it was by accident they started doing that, and so they don't know who the other person is, and there's all these circumstances. And basically the whole series is just so charming and cozy and lovely and just exactly what my brain needed. And then the Jewels of Halstead Manor, that one took me a little bit longer to get into. It just felt like it was a bit, I wasn't convinced that I was going to like it. For whatever reason, in the Hearts of Harewood series, I feel like Kasey Stockton did a really good job of, the characters would notice like the physical attractiveness of the other person, but it was balanced by, like in the first book, To Forge Her Fate, the main lady character falls in love with the blacksmith because he's such a genuinely kind and generous person, and it talks about that a number of times, that she really noticed that. And I very much appreciated that about the whole series, was that it wasn't so much focused on the extreme, like, ooh, that person's really attractive sort of a thing. It was much more on the characters of the people, and I really, really enjoyed that. In the Jewels of Halstead Manor, I felt like there was a lot more about, like, oh man, the main guy, Nick, was so hot. Like, it kept referring to it and referring to it. And the main lady, her name was Julia, but she was of Italian heritage, so it was spelled with a G, so it was like Giulia, I think is what it was. And she had been living with her father her whole life, and they had traveled around from place to place. Her father was kind of an adventure writer. He had died before the beginning of the book, and so she was traveling to stay with her uncle in the manor in the Devon countryside. And while she's there, she meets 3 other young women, and that's what the series goes on to. Because basically I finished the secret correspondence, and then actually I found, I was able to sign up for another, like, Kindle Unlimited trial thing. Like, they had a deal where, I can't remember what it was, if it was like $2 for 2 months, something good enough for me to sign up for it. I wanted to sign up for it so I could read a secret correspondence, because that was the only place I could get it. And so then they suggested another one, which was called The Governess Debut by Wendy May Andrews. And of course I wanted to do it because it's a governess. Like I said, I just love that trope. However, I can't remember the main names of the lady, but it was so, I made a note here in my notes app that it was very odd, because it was this, it was a lady who had fallen on, like, harder times, and so she needed a job, and so she comes to work for this, oops, what would you call it? He's kind of like a grumpy, stern, like, words. He just is grumpy, and he stays at home and he works a lot and doesn't pay too much attention to his daughter, and his daughter is kind of bratty and terrible because nobody pays attention to her and she's a little bit neglected. And so he gets the governess, and initially he's just like, I don't think I can hire you, you're much too young and attractive. And so then he does end up hiring her, of course. But the weird thing is in the book, it wasn't even the main guy, but just the narrator kept referring to the governess and the 7-year-old daughter as the girls, and it just made the governess seem very young, and it was just weird. I didn't care for that. it just gave me a strange feeling. Like, it was just a little bit odd that, you know, she's old enough to be falling in love with the father, but then also it's referring to them as girls. Like, the girls went to the shop to do XYZ or whatever. And it's like, it's just a little odd. So I wasn't really interested in reading more of her books. So I dove back into the Ladies of Devon series, which the next one was The Lady of Larkspur Vale, and then The Widow of Fallbrook Court, and then The Recluse of Wolfton Hall. And I really enjoyed all of those. They were excellent. I love how they do this in series where it's like you in the first book you meet this character, but then it introduces these other characters, whether it's siblings or friends or whatever it is, and then the series continues on with giving everybody else their happily ever after, and it's just, I love it so much. It's so good. And then I read Honorably Engaged by Kasey Stockton, which is the third book in the Bradwell Brothers series. And the one thing that I noticed about this one that I did not like is that it's from the first person point of view, but then each chapter is the other character. So I can't remember. It's like Marianne and Henry? I think it's Henry. Marianne and Henry are the two main characters. And so it would say, you know, chapter 21, Henry, and then it would be like I, and it's all from Henry's point of view. And then chapter 22, it's I, but it's all from Marianne's point of view. And I just do not care for that style of writing. And especially after reading all of the other books by Kasey Stockton, where it was third person point of view, which I much prefer. The only time I like to read first person point of view is when it's just one person that it is referring to as I, because otherwise it just, unless it's an amazingly phenomenal author who can actually write different voices, it just seems weird to me. The only book that I have read so far that I have actually like really enjoyed the first person point of view from multiple different characters is I'm blanking on the book. It's Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White. That man did such a good job of making his writing voices different for each character. So that it would be an I, like I did XYZ, for like, it's several different characters. There's one section of that book where there's a bunch of different characters giving their point of view of a story. And he did so well at differentiating between them. But thus far, he's the only one that I have read that I have not been bothered by having multiple people in first point of view. So that was a slightly annoying thing. And then I read Properly Kissed, which is a novella. I guess a novella offshoot of the Bradwell Brothers series. And that one, it was a first person, but it was only a girl, the main girl. I think it was Jane. I think that's who it was. And that one was really sweet and very short and easy to read. And then I picked up Off the Record by Kasey Stockton, which is a contemporary romance like novella. It was like a shorter story. And that one was okay, but again, it had a little bit too much emphasis on, oh my gosh, he's so hot. And I just don't need that. Don't need that in a book. Looks are not everything, okay? Just because somebody's hot doesn't mean that they're a nice person. Like, let's just put that out there. So that was a little bit like, eh. And then also it's a contemporary romance, which isn't as much my thing as a historical romance. But aside from all that, I do think it was a cute story. Like, there was nothing really in depth about it. It was a very short story, but it was cute. I am very interested. My plan is later this year, Kasey Stockton has a Christmas romance series, and I'm very excited to read that in like November, December. I think that's going to be so much fun. So I'm saving that for myself. Then I read Frederica by Georgette, and oh my goodness. This is a reread for me, but I don't remember it, and I don't remember loving it as much the first time that I read it. I know that I liked it. but I don't remember it really, and so I was reading it and I was just like, this is the best, most sweetest, cutest book that has ever existed, and I just love it so much. It's basically Frederica and her siblings. She has a younger sister named like Charis, I think it was. It's like Charis or something. It's some exposing my ignorance here. She's supposed to have been named after some Greek or some mythological story myth character that means like graceful or grace or something. Anyway, her younger sister and then her two younger brothers, Jessame and Felix, they all come up to London because Frederica wants to get her sister an eligible and comfortable, like, happily married. She wants to find a marriage for her. And so they connect with the Marquez. I always know how to pronounce these things when I read them in the book, but then when I try to say them out loud, not so much. Basically this rich guy, Vernon I think is his name, but what is his, it's A something. Anyway, he's kind of this like jaded, a little bit snobby. He's a bachelor. He's like 37 or something, I think. And his sisters have been trying to get him to like be married off for years. And so he's very aware of all the matchmaking mamas that are in town. And he just doesn't want to have anything to do with them. And then Frederica and her family just come in and completely turn his world upside down, turn his life upside down, and he finds begrudgingly that he's actually enjoying being around Jessame, who is like 16, and Felix, who's like 12 or 13, and it is just so cute. I loved it. I don't remember like having this strong of loving feelings for it. The first time I read it, like I said, I know that I liked it, but I didn't remember it as well, and it was just, it was exactly what I needed. It was so much fun to read that. It has made me want to dive back into reading a bunch of Georgette Heyer's books, so I'm trying to figure out which one I want to try and read next, because I went through a phase maybe a couple years ago now where I read a ton of Georgette Heyer books, like a whole bunch of them, and I absolutely love them. I've read Venetia like maybe 3 times at this point. That one was my favorite. It was the first one that I ever read. I read it because Miranda Mills recommended it, and I was just like, oh, this sounds pretty good, and I've loved it. It is such a good story. But then I read a whole bunch of her other books since then, and she is just such a good author. Yeah, so I need to pick which one of hers to read next. And in the meantime, because this last week, I just feel like my brain has really been struggling with that whole like introvert thing and whatnot. And so I just haven't been reading for like the last 4 days or something. I had that kind of like decision fatigue where I couldn't choose what book to read next, and so I just didn't read anything, but I was like missing it so badly. Like I wanted something to read, and so I finally picked up A Noble Inheritance by Kasey Stockton, which is connected to the Bradwell brothers. It's technically in the Castles and Courtship series, but and the Castles and Courtship series is one that has, each book is by a different author, but this one in particular is connected to the Bradwell brothers. And so I picked that one up. I'm actually just about done with it, and I've been very much enjoying it. Again, sweet, wholesome, lovely, cozy, perfect. But yes, so I am planning to read some more Georgette Heyer books. I want to go back and watch Gina's video again and pick a couple of the authors from there to try out. And then I want to try and pick a few cozy autumnal books to try and read, because we're in September. We're like a week away from the official first day of fall, but I've already got, you can't see them, but I already have all my like pumpkins out. So while the weather might not be reflecting it, we are entering the very early stages of autumn, and I am here for it. So that's kind of what I'm planning to read. I thought I would quickly share with you a little book haul. In August, my sister was here for about a week, and we got to hang out and do all kinds of lovely things. It was amazing. It was just such a wonderful time. It was so good to spend time with her and yeah, I guess deepen our relationship, talk a bunch, and we went to some different thrift stores and things. And at one point my husband watched, my sister has 3 boys, and so my husband watched the 3 older boys and we took the 2 littlest ones, and we went to this like antique thrift store, and I found some amazing book deals. I am just so excited about it. So I'm gonna go grab those quickly and share them with you. I'll be right back. Okay, are you ready for this? This is a giant stack of books that I'm definitely gonna fall over. I found all of these books at this antique store, and they were all like $1 or $2 a piece. Maybe it was $2 a piece, except there was one that was like $4. But I'm gonna quickly share these with you because I was just so excited. I just couldn't believe it because the books were not organized by author whatsoever, and so I kept finding, I was like, oh, that's another one by that author. Oh, that's another one by that author. Oh my goodness. It was just amazing. So we'll start off with these paperbacks. I got Spring Always Comes by Emily Loring, and if you remember a few videos ago I mentioned that I read my first Emily Loring book, and this author was recommended to me by one of my lovely online friends. You know who you are if you're watching. And so I saw this one and I was like, ooh, I definitely have to pick it up because I haven't read it. Like I said, I've only read one of her books so far. So this is called Spring Always Comes, and it says, hurt by the glamorous but cruel world of New York society that had destroyed her love for oh my goodness, for Jefferson Gray, a handsome young executive, Connie Wyndham started out alone as a working girl, but her life seemed to bring her even nearer to the attractive and idealistic man she tried so hard to forget. When an underworld boss threatened her brother's life and embroiled her in a murderous plot, Connie was compelled to turn once more to her former love. Without thinking, she was in his willing arms again, and this time it could only lead to disaster. It just sounds so lovely. So, I need to read this one. I might flip through it and see, because it says Spring Always Comes, so is it a spring book? I don't know. We'll find out. Then I grabbed these 2. These are Patricia Wentworth. It is She Came Back and Gray Mask. I didn't realize when I got home that I already have a paperback copy of Gray Mask, but that's fine. And then this one, oh, this cover. It's just beautiful. This one I have a really hard time reading, actually, because the manipulative characters, Patricia Wentworth is so good at writing manipulative, horrible characters that you just cannot wait for them to be murdered. Like, it's like that point where you're just like, you are a horrible person. So I've actually only read this book, I think, once, because I tried to read it again at one point this year, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get past the point where that character was not a problem anymore. And then I grabbed Georgette Hare, Powder and Patch, which this is one that the description always makes me like, I'm sure that this is an amazing book because I trust Georgette Hare, but sometimes reading the summaries of books doesn't do you any favors because it sounds so weird or different from what that book actually ends up being. So I need to get over that and just read it. But yeah, so Regency Romance. I love this cover. It's so cute. So those were the paperbacks. And then I just found the jackpot. See how many are there. I found 1, 2, 3, 4 D.E. Stevenson books, and 1, 2, 3 Miss Read books. So let me see. Let me organize them by author a little bit. Let me get this one out. All right. So the 4 D.E. Stevenson books I found are Celia's House, Rochester's Wife, The Marriage of Catherine, and The Baker's Daughter, which I have read all of these. But they're just in, like, they're hardbacks. And I think, which one was it? Is it Baker's Daughter? Yeah, Baker's Daughter has a little bit of, like, spine damage to it. If you can kind of see down here. But I couldn't leave it there. And it's just this really, really beautiful if I had found Belle Lamington and or Fletcher's End, I would have basically given up on ever finding the ultimate secondhand books again. And this is Celia's House, which wasn't one of my favorites of D.E. Stevenson. It was okay. But again, I'm not going to say no. And then The Marriage of Catherine. This was definitely one of my favorites. I really enjoyed it. This is part of a duology. The first one was Catherine Wentworth. Okay, I was thinking it was Wentworth, but I was like, no, it can't be Wentworth. That's from Persuasion. But yes, Catherine Wentworth, and then The Marriage of Catherine. And then the last one is Rochester's Wife, which doesn't have any cover, but this one was just, I love this one. This is such a good one. So, then I found a Roy Rogers novel, and so let me tell you, I grew up watching Roy Rogers movies, and I've known that Roy Rogers books existed, but I've never read one before, and I found one for $4, and I just, oh man, Roy Rogers was 100% my first crush. He was like one of the most attractive people that has ever existed. Like, he just, be still my little childhood heart. Then I found Tales from Shakespeare by Charles and Mary Lamb. Again, this was a book that I kind of grew up with, and it's just, ooh, there's some notepaper in here. I bet it was somebody that was trying to, it's got all the different characters in here, and it's a bunch of words, so I bet it was words that the person, it looks like it was a child, kid, teenager, preteen, somebody reading it. All the words, they probably didn't know what they meant, so they needed to look them up later. But I'm very, very happy to have this, because I have started collecting different books that I think will be beneficial to me in the homeschooling years, which I am hoping and dreaming of being able to do with my kids, is homeschool them. And so I'm just trying to start collecting books that will help me on that journey when I get to that point. I've got a few years still, but I love this. We grew up with this. I think I said that. Then, for the misread books, I found 3. And these were 3 that I didn't already have, which was amazing. So this is Mrs. Pringle of Fairacre. I need to pull that sticker off, and there's another sticker back here. So this is just a paperback. I actually love these editions of her books. And then I found Tyler's Row by Miss Reed, and oh, look at this cover. The artwork is just dreamy. I don't know if this one is connected. Okay, it is A Village of Fairacre. Yeah. Okay, so that is part of that series. And then I found Village Centenary. So this one is another one in Fairacre. And I just, it's beautiful. Beautiful. So excited about it. And then the last 2, I grabbed this one because it's a Gladys Tabor book. I realize I already have this one, so I may try to sell this. There's an old paper in here. What's this about? What's it say? Okay. Oh, this is just the dust jacket that they tucked inside. Anyway, I love it when I find old stuff. At some point, I desperately want to read this book. Like I said, I already have an edition of this, but I haven't read it. Oh, they pressed some leaves in it. It's just, okay. I already have a copy of that book, so I will probably try to de-stash, sell that or something, but I couldn't leave it there because I wasn't sure if it was different from the one I already had. And then the last one I grabbed was Strawberry Point by Florence Rowe Wiggins. And this one was just mostly a cover buy, and it just looked like a cute old-fashioned story. So I will have to read this at some point and report back, but it just looks so wholesome, and it sounds like it's the story of a small village or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it just looks sweet, and I think it was like $2, so Anyway, that's all that I have to share with you today. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. I hope to be able to get back to some semblance of a schedule of making videos, but like I said, at this point, my schedule's all over the place. I have no idea what's going to be happening from day to day. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for all of your lovely, wonderful comments that you leave on my videos. I do so truly appreciate it. And yeah, like I said, if you have any governess trope, like wholesome governess books to recommend, I would love to hear that. If you have any like sweet autumnal romances to recommend, I would love that. I'd love to hear that. And if you have read Georgette Hare, tell me like your favorite ones. And I've probably already read it, but I want another Georgette Hare book. So tell me your favorite one that you've read, and I will consider reading that one. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.